During the week, I had an interesting exchange on a forum where I asked questions, and people answer. So I asked this question. The answers are very interesting, and I thought I should share them with us today. So, why do we worship and pray when birds and animals don't? Are we really not part of the same life as them? Are humans making an error with all the frantic prayers they engage in? And should we worship and pray at all when life is an isness? So I got so many answers on that forum, and I picked two of them quite interesting. Let me read one by this guy is called Charles R. Butler Neto, and he says, according to the Ethiopian church, the entire creation, other than humans, is in prayer all the time. Only humans are unaware of this and put off animal noises and all their continuous chatter as random. The Ethiopian church gets up before dawn on Sundays to rejoin the prayer of creation, which one can hear as the sun comes up, if one is listening. So this guy claims that, in fact, the entire creation is in a continuous prayer mood. Even the birds and the animals, and maybe the plants and all that. So I found this answer very interesting. I said, let me hear what Duane would say about it.
Yes, what will Duane say about it? What would anybody say? I'm watching this on Netflix. I'm watching these episodes on Africa, and they're very, very good. Even some of it's about Congo too, but the natural environment and what's going on with the animals, the birds, the insects, etc., and how the natural environment is. Very, very good. One of the best ones I've ever seen. Better than National Geographic. It's from BBC. David Attenborough is narrating it. It's very, very good. And it's really cool in its own way to see this. So, the worshiping and prayer idea is just that. It's a choice. We have ideas. It's something that sounds good. It's something that, makes sense to people that do it, like anything, like the business world, etc. It seems to, in its own way, according to each person, seems to fit. It's their choice. And really, that's really what it is. It sounds like, as people do these things, it's like a business. And what does life do? What does life itself do? So what they're really seeing is creation, basically, and deciding in their own way. Okay, this is how things are to be done. And if I got it right from what you said, that the animals are just making a bunch of chatter, etc. Are they? Again, it's each person decides. So yeah, well, I see the difference, but again, you can't tell people anything. They decide what life is according to what they see, according to their senses. I get it. We've all grown up with this, and so It's really something that each person must figure out for themselves what they're going to really see in life. And it becomes very, very interesting. Um, for me, it's more than evident what this isness is. And so, but for others, it's probably along the lines of fantasy or belief or superstition or whatever they decided to be in their minds. So the idea of worship and prayer, again, where did this come from? Now all of a sudden they use that idea too, and that's a reference to exactly what it is. Is it anything but that? So again, where did it come from? It all came from the reptilians, because again, it didn't exist before it did exist. So we're in what is taking place now. So people, how far back do they go? You might say as a reference, a couple years, their life, a couple lifetimes, centuries, whatever. And yes, you see people worshiping and praying to things and doing all these things. Well, originally, just like the Tower of Babylon or whatever, who decided that? And again, that was building temples to gods. And so this has gone on and on. So again, it's choice. This is where people are today. And to see this reality and recognize it, well, I can see it's, you might say it's way off base for them, but whatever, it's a choice, Charles. These become experiences and references, and as you use the new you, as you sing the new you learn to compare. Okay, all you have to do is, it's not about thinking so much, but just learn to see and compare the difference of what's going on. Look at that idea and look at what you see that your mind doesn't decide. See, try that. And then you decide to recognize the difference. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, and another guy called Vaclav Krepek or something like that. He gave a very enlightening answer here, which made me realize that many people out there are being touched in a way by the worldwide wake-up call. People are becoming more aware in their various quarters. This is what he says. In a sort of way, we are different. We are a different life form. The difference is that, unlike other animals, we spend most of our lives not in reality, but in a dream world. Animals live in the present, here and now. They are focused. We, on the other hand, spend most of our time thinking about the future, remembering the past, or dwelling in completely different reality of dreams, books, films, alternative realities, and the human world that's not based on natural laws but on our own, on logic that we have created ourselves. That is why in critical situations the immediate focus takes us by surprise so much. Have you ever been in an imminently dangerous situation like a car crash? Can you remember how strange everything felt? How intensive the reality became? Well, that's what I'm talking about. We have created a lot of things that exist only inside our heads. That's called culture. Gods and other superstitions are part of that. We pray to gods because we believe that it is the right thing to do. That is to say, some of us do. Animals don't have any such concepts. So why would they do any such thing like prayer? As to whether it's an error, well, religion was pretty important when human society was forming. It was a sort of catalyst that enabled the rise of human cultures. One of the things that helped to make humans out of animals. Biology and genetics only gave us the tool, brain, but the brain needed to be filled with ideas. Otherwise, we just use it to get more food, better shelter, and so on. Religion and culture lead us to use it to create lasting things, often actually suffering. To establish certain principles and concepts upon which the human society relies. Concepts like good and bad, justice, fairness, authority, none of them actually exist in the objective reality. But was that an error? Stupid thing to do? Well, we wouldn't be here without it. Now, how is religion? Forgive me, but I don't think we do. It played its part, but we have outgrown it. Like kids maturing, we no longer need bedtime stories. Our society is mostly ready to be told that there's no Santa Claus, bogeymen, fairies, demons, and such. That these only impersonated, in fact, certain ideals, certain thoughts. Now we are old enough to grasp them without the mythology. So it's time to let the gods go. So this is the one that I wanted to read, and the internet connection was troubling. So this guy's answer is the one that made me really impressed. The answer that stood out amongst all the answers to the question I asked in the forum.
Do you have his name, Charles?
Vaclav Kripek.
Is that Russian or what?
I don't know whether it's Russian or it could be from Europe. Could be from Europe.
That's fun. So again, yeah, that's a good little definition of what's going on. I would almost say make an image of that and share it sometimes. Just see what happens. Yeah, that's very.
Yeah.
So he put that in a chat or something?
Sorry?
He put it in the chat so you could read it. You didn't dictate that. You didn't take that down as he was speaking, did you?
No, it's I just opened I just opened the website. So I was reading from the answers there. So if you wanted, I could copy it and send to you. You know. Yeah, the guy really hit the nail on the head. I was quite impressed with the answer, just what I wanted to hear. And it seems as if he had met Duane to tell him these things. So I was very, very surprised that some people who are beginning to awaken says the things that you've been telling us here, though in his own way. Okay, I want to say something about Nigeria. Since Ebiok is making arrangements there to get a venue where they will be doing some activities. And he says it will be at a lawyer's office. And the said lawyer is helping them to get some papers to legalize Wonderful Worldwide Educators as a group to function there. So he's on it. So let's hope that everything goes through, and I hope it does. So they could have a place where they meet, like Mariam has in the Congo. So then I wanted to something that intrigued me, and I wanted to ask. I want to know whether there is something, whether there is something special. Is one's awareness, one's contact with the is enhanced by living in the seclusion of mountain retreats, caves, where putting on certain outfits like long and heavy gowns and loins, like the Indian yogi saints do, fasting and other austerities, can they add to one's perception and recognition of the is?
Everything adds. Again, when people do these things, okay, what's the idea? What would you see as the idea when they do these things? When, again, the birds and that do these funny things, go through this process. Is there a process to go through to equal something? When it's an isness, now that we know this, do we have to do any of that? Do we have to go anywhere? You see? So you compare the two. Again, the sun shining. The sun is always the best example of anything that's going on or any questions that we have. I always, for my personal self, because the personal self is funny here, we all have our needs, likes, dislikes, whatever, and this is fine. It's nothing I cling to. It's just that they come up, they come and go, etc. But I always, you might say, carry my comparisons. And that's the best one for me, or the isness, or whatever. It's the same thing to me. It's just I use that. And so when you compare the two, what makes sense, you see? But when you just look at it for what it is, just like what you went through in this first demonstration of what was said, it looks to be, makes sense in some way. What really does make sense here? So we do the best we can because it's creation, but at the same time, we are always the decider. So if a person decides to do that, hey, have fun. But no, I see, again, what the boys do and what they demonstrate. All right, Rizar and the boys and the real guides, what are they demonstrating? You know, their view is what the is, and seeing how others are trying to make their way through creation to become more aware and recognize this isness. I see the difference. There's a comparison right there between that and those individuals that are looking for something for themselves, which is understandable. But this is what we've been taught since childhood. We need something. We want something. And so instead of recognizing and utilizing our creativeness, again, this is what I taught my daughter, how to be self-sufficient. I didn't teach her to be literal. That was not what I did. This is what most people do. They teach others to be literal. They teach their siblings to be literal, and they become literal. And then comes the constant thinking in one's head, trying to resolve what makes sense in the world with the experiences that they've had, the limited experiences that they've had. And so again, where does even the imagination come in to this? So Yeah, again, I use comparisons. It's very simple. I listen to what you're saying, and then for my mind, left brain, right brain, ones and zeros, you might say, because the one is literal and the zero is creative. It's endless, you see. It's like everything. And this is what computers run off of, ones and zeros. And we have this aspect, and so this starts us off in a particular way. So we got to start somewhere. So we have this personal self. So, yeah. So as you're speaking, I just listen to you. I write down little notes here, draw cartoons, whatever, and then I just simply compare it. And then from that comparison, this is the fun part. I gain an insight to what you're saying, and then from there, I see what shows up, you see, because it always is. That's the best part. So I become more now with that too. And the interesting thing is that yes, we've gone through these procedures where we go to the mountains, we dress a particular way, we go through these, what do they call, posterities or something, or affirmations or whatever it is. We go through all these things, and it's about the me self. Well, that was what it was. It's almost like you might say life babysat us to that point. Now it's like, okay, now it's the next step, and it's got to be figured out, because if life doesn't continue on, you might say for itself, where are we? You see? So again, those that are now, it seems to be centered around me, so those that are exploring, so as I'm exploring and bringing this through, you might say, it becomes so. It becomes what it is and not what it was. So again, a comparison of what you're saying, Charles, that's what I do. And so, but most people won't do that. They will take the ideas and see them as something, because this is how they've been taught. They've been taught to define things with their personal self instead of comparing and seeing if there is something else they're not seeing, you see?